Scopus, or do you do that yourself now?
I have her. She's still my Scopus. Not for any civil yet, because I'm new to this court. We haven't had any trials. Today I got 3 requests in one day. I think I'm going to do them. Because to be real honest with you, like in one day I'm going to make $1,000. You know, it's only, I don't want to say only, but it's like 200, 300 pages, something like that, less than 300. So I'm not, I'll just do it myself. That because it's small, it's quick, I can do it myself. But the other trials and stuff, I always gave to my scopist. Whether it was like 500, 600, here, do it. Because it helps me a whole lot. It alleviates a whole lot of stress for me. Plus, I'm able to do other stuff. Like go to the movies and spend time with my son and go to happy hour. But, you know, kind of have a life that I didn't sort of have, you know. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm so blessed to be a court reporter. Right now I feel blessed of all of my court reporting career. I've worked really hard, and I think I'm where I'm going to be for a while, and I think I'm going to like it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it.
I've been advised that, at least for the first few years, that you don't get a scopus, so that you can, you know, really learn your writing and learn how to put out that transcript.
Well, you know, when
Your
I
view on
initially
that.
began, I didn't have a scopist. I didn't need a scopist. I mean, I was doing my own depots, so I didn't really need a scopist. I probably did at some point, like when I moved to Eagle Pass, I was the only court reporter there. And don't get me wrong, there were other court reporters coming in taking depots, but I was taking like 5 depots a day, one day. And also delivering subpoenas, but back then I was really hustling. I had actually thought to maybe live there, kind of corner the market there, and I decided not to for whatever reason. My life changed. But no, and the good thing about not having a scopist initially is because you're building your dictionary. You need to build your dictionary.
Well, that was another reason why.
Yeah,
you
that's
could
the
go-
main reason, I would think. But eventually, if you take a lot of depots, you're going to want a scopist, because then you can be taking other depositions while she's doing your scoping, and then all you have to do is proofread it. I mean, it's a little business kind of deal, and it helps you. It helps with everything that you're doing.
Did you have a proofreader initially?
No, I've never had a proofreader. There's some people who do. Some people will scope their own stuff, like Debbie, you do. Yeah, that's right, you do. And then they hire a proofreader. Do you have a proofreader though? Yeah, see, I do the other way around. So, whatever works.
How did you choose your scopus? How did you?
I fell into it. Almost like court reporting. I just fell into court reporting. I fell into the scopist. Everything, it's kind of funny. My whole life has kind of been like that. Of course, you think things out and you kind of sit back and wait for things to happen, but I fell into it. A friend of mine, Linda, was using a scopus. She trained the scopus, and we're both on the same software. Linda was a swing reporter right before I was. I want to say maybe a year before. No, she was a scopus a swing for a while. And then I became a swing, and she introduced me to our scopist. And so her name's Lou. And so I use her since we have the same software, and it's worked thus far. I don't know if it will now that I'm on the civil side. I'm not sure that it will, but she's been a really good scopist. So, yeah, and she's really dependable. At the time, she didn't have a job, so when I had those 24, 50, 75 trials in 3 years, she didn't have a job. And I mean, it was unfortunate for her, but it kind of worked to my advantage. So even more so, I wanted to give her everything because I wanted her to have extra income. So even if I had 200 pages, I'd give it to her. And it helps me too, but it helped me a whole lot. So she'd do one of my trials and she'd do Linda's trial. Or she'd do 2 days for me, and then she'd do a day or 2 for her, and just kind of going back and forth with the 2. But now she has a job, thank God. But she still scopes for us. I mean, she still does it during the evening and stuff, because Linda, still has a lot of trials, and I left a lot of trials. I mean, I still have like 3 trials left to take care of that have appealed. So, but I don't know if she'll be busy enough, or I think she'll be too busy to do my civil stuff, so I may have to find somebody else. So.
Explain to them how you get the file to her.
I just put out a little, well, actually, you can email it now.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't
yeah.
know if you use that cloud or, how
I
you send
don't.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I just emailed it, or I did the USB thing. So she has her software. It all works out really well. I think she knows the software better than I do. But she's fantastic. She's great.
A reporter, and you might remember her, Olga Gutierrez. She does depots, and I went with her, and she says she
No.
sends
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
You know.
Oh, I'm sure, because
I'm
she went to
sure.
school with us. She said that she has her system set up that every hour it's sending her deposition into the cloud. And then this way, it's on every hour. And she just has it set up for everywhere. So the Scopus.
For backup, you mean, or to the Scopus?
Well, no, to the Scopus.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if the Scopus has the time, and of course, if it's a rush, she's got it there.
That's good.
every hour.
That's great for her.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
But she probably needs that versus you.
It-
You probably don't need it.
I really don't, but I mean, that's not bad. I've just not ever heard of it.
But she backs it up, and then it just automatically does it every hour.
That's
Reporters who are
interesting.
doing the rushes in 10-minute segments, and it sends it to the Scopus, and the Scopus is about 10 minutes behind. They work.
That is
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
See,
she
I don't
does
really
it
need
every
any of
hour.
that.
Yeah.
But, like for daily copy, which may be happening in this court, and right now I'm going, I don't want any daily copy. Then I'd probably need to do something like that, for sure, and I'd have to look into that. But if I get daily copy, I'm gonna use Kay, who's in the courthouse, and I really don't, really need to do all that. So, I don't know. I'll wait till I get there. Or maybe you can come. We make money together, David. Come on.
No, I was telling them about Cindy Hyatt. Cindy Hyatt and Mary Berry are doing one
Yeah,
right
they
now.
are raking in the dough.
Yeah,
Woo.
lots.
I mean, they've been in a daily copy since September.
42 days and the plaintiff still hasn't rested.
They finally rested. They finally rested 2 days ago, yesterday, maybe Friday. No, it was Friday. It was Friday. They rested on Friday because I saw Richard Price,
Oh, my
and he told
God.
Laura and I that they rested.
Mm.
So, yeah, that is a major. That shouldn't even go that long because a jury can't retain that much.
Yeah.
That's just way too much for the jury.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just too much information. It's just one-sided. I bet they pour them out.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, they're doing really, really well. That's fantastic. And I hear that it's not a tough case, so the terminology is not really that
Mhm.
hard.
Mhm.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Of course, when that happens to me, because when stuff like that happens to me, it's like the most difficult thing ever.
It'll be a medical.
So, dang it. I know. I'm going to call Mary. Let's switch out. But anyway, so, yeah.
Just another question is, how did you deal or dealt with, I'm sure there's some kind of, we're always supposed to, I guess, have no emotion, but I'm sure a lot of the criminal cases are dealt
Not
very
true.
difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. We're not supposed to, but
How did you have trouble, I guess,
I used to bite my lip, and I have big chunks in my mouth, dug out, so I wouldn't cry. I mean, I have a kid, and you know what? If anybody knows me, I'm really a sensitive person. I just pretend like I'm not, but I'm really sensitive, and especially with those types of cases too. They're really hard to take and hear. And you got the mom crying, and you have, being in there is it's just very sad. It's a no win-win situation. You have the defendant, who let's just say he murdered somebody, and then you have the victim's family over here. But the defendant's family is sorrying their son or daughter or whatever that's going to go to prison for the rest of their lives, and it's really just sad. It's a horrible arena. But I used to just bite my cheek really, really hard. There was one time it didn't work. I cried in court. Nobody saw me. But I had taken we had taken the capital murder, and then we had taken several murders after that. And all the defendants were young. My son is 16. And these defendants were 16, 17, 19. And they were all, and then we had another one that was 19, and they were all just so young. And, do y'all have boys? Anybody have boys? You have boys. As you know, boys are just different than girls. Boys just react. And you could just see how senseless some of these murders were. It was a couple, there were 2 boys, for instance. They were gay. They discovered they were gay. Their parents didn't accept they were gay. They decided to steal the car. And so they steal this car, but in the process of stealing the car, they meant to injure somebody, the driver of the vehicle, and they kill him. They don't even know they killed him. They just stab him with it was a pin, and stabbed him here from behind, and then just, pushed him out of the vehicle and drove off. And they went to Colorado, and they thought if they left to a different state that they could not, they couldn't file charges on them if they were in a different state, 16 and 17-year-old. And it's just sad situations. You constantly hear stuff like that, and it's really kind of sad. And that was a capital murder, and they're going to do life now in prison forever. And then I had another one was, they were in high school, and that's the one where I just eventually broke down. It was just too much for me, and they were week, all weeks apart, and so I just, fortunately, my hair was down that day, and I teared up and I cried, or I just teared, and I just had my hair down, and that was kind of that. But we're human, especially after hearing all that kind of stuff.
Did you develop ways, like coping mechanisms or way to de-stress? Did you, I know you have a family, I guess I'm different for, I don't have kids or a family, but did you?
I started working out, is really what worked for me. And that worked great for me. I just focused on the workout, what they told us to do, and I'd do whatever they said. I did this boot camp for like a year. It was kind of crazy. But it's kind of like, yes, Master, I'll do whatever you say. Yes, 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 go, go, go. It was great. I mean, I loved it. And that's what I find helps me even now. I try to work out as often as I can. You can't really tell, but I do. But I eat whatever I want to. I mean, that helps me. And that's probably the only thing that helps me. Once in a while, I want to have a glass of wine if it's a really hard case, or you're just kind of tired, you want to wind down. It's kind of nice to do with your friends or family or other court reporters, because you kind of talk about stuff and you make light of things. This is really horrible, but I could be in a really bad case, and you kind of make light of it in some way. Yeah, for all of us, because we all, like his court, that's why I loved going there, because they were very functional. You have to make the court function as a whole when you have everybody around you, your staff. And so you just make light of different things, I don't want to give examples, but you just make light of different things. And it really helps all of us. But yeah, working out, so, for me.
And I don't know if you still have these issues or ever have these issues, but I know that there's numerous times when I'll be writing and my mind just goes off.
That's fantastic.
Oh, I need to start
And you know
with a
what?
fundraiser
No, that's
and,
normal.
you
So
know.
that's good. That means you're writing really well. I think about what I'm going to eat. I think about my kid. I think about what I need to do. And it's like, oh, yeah. Well, I'm not doing that right now because the civil's like, has me, at the edge of my seat. But in criminal, forget it. I could do all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was text messaging when I was writing. I still kind of do that. Yeah, we all kind of do that. But no, that's normal.
And
That's
then you
good.
get to that point where it's, it frustrates me, because then I'll be, okay, I've got to take my son to football, and I've got to, I've got 4 children. There's just so much
Yeah.
in their lives that I'm the one that
Right.
has to be managing their life.
Right, I get it.
The orthodontist appointment, just.
Yeah, but that's good. That's normal. It really is. I mean, I'm a sole parent, and so I've raised Connor since he was 1 by myself. So I get it. So, and it's kind of nice if you're kind of distracted in your writing. That means, for me, I'm comfortable in my writing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to
Well, I
be
guess
doing.
being
so.
in school and trying to pass these tests.
It's
does
tough.
not feel
You guys,
comfortable.
yeah,
Leave
no,
my
it
phone on.
doesn't.
Dang it, I missed words.
Yeah, but you know what? Let yourself drop it and just go. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it anymore, so just let it go. And that's the thing with, when I have found the guy students got out of school way quicker than we did, because us chicks, we stress over everything. Guys, it's just black or white. And having my son even more so, black or white. Drop, okay, let's just get on to the next word or what have you. And we kind of have to, eventually you will get this way, because I'm like that now, but you will just get to that point, and you need to get to that point, because you already lost that word. So just drop that word and keep going. If you write messy, that's okay. You can go ahead and hit it in your dictionary. You can job define it. You can put it in your dictionary. I mean, all of us have misstrokes in our dictionaries that we have defined. That's
So
what
your
we
writing
do.
comes out
Oh,
flat.
if I write like crap, no. I mean, I have my misstrokes in there that, whatever the word was supposed to be, that I need, because you actually still will write that word that way. I don't know why, but you do. And so I added it to my dictionary. That's what I did. Later on, if you find you want to delete it or there's a conflict, you can conflict it out, kind of deal. But I added everything to my dictionary. So, but anything else?
When you say you added everything to
Uh-huh.
your dictionary, okay, you've got criminal experience, so you're gonna have criminal terms in your dictionary.
Mhm.
And now that you're on civil, I'm trying to reconcile this with an article that I read, I think, in the Journal magazine that NCRA publishes, and the effect, the journal was saying, if you're in criminal, have a criminal dictionary. If you're in medical, have a medical dictionary. If you're in the oil industry, have, petroleum dictionary. And what I think I'm hearing you say is that if you had all of those different kinds of cases, you would just have one massive dictionary.
And I do.
Well, I
But
love it.
that's just,
I personally think that
That's what
having
I
a
do.
massive dictionary makes more sense, because if you don't know where you're going to be and what you're going to, like for literary, say if you're going to hear everything on 60 Minutes, NPR, whatever.
right.
To me, that made more sense than having these specialized dictionaries.
Well, and I bet what they're talking about is maybe if you have specific types of cases, and that's why they have maybe, a specific
they
dictionary.
They did talk about
Which you
cases
can you can have specific dictionaries. I just have a huge dictionary. And especially being a swing, and then being in West Texas, I did civil and criminal. So I was constantly adding stuff in there. So I never really gave it its own little place, I'll just say. I just have a huge dictionary. So, and it's going to get bigger because I'm now on the civil side and I'm going to hear a whole bunch of different stuff. And having a scopist, I'm going to probably not use a scopist initially so that I can get a lot of stuff, or if I have downtime, I'll go in and I just start adding stuff. While I'm sitting there, I'm adding stuff, That's what, you constantly have to add stuff to your dictionary. But yeah, I just have a humongous dictionary. I don't know how many words are in there, but I know I have a lot.
So are you, now that you've entered this new part in your career, so are you now doing different briefs?
I'm having to do, you know what, this is the other thing, I'm kind of old school. I am a stroker. I have some briefs, I need a brief, I'm starting to come up with some briefs on my own, but I have always been that way. That's why I think for me, like when I hear medical testimony, I'm like, cool, I'll write it, and, so it works to my advantage, although I'm tired. So now that I'm on this side, it's going to be different. Criminal side, I could kind of get away with it, although people speak really fast, but I did fine. But I need some, and I'm coming up with some. There's some I already have, like breach of contract and different kind of ones, and I'm just creating some now. But yeah, so now I add them to my dictionary. So.
My next question is going to be about certifying a question, and the deposition reporter was explaining it, and I didn't know if it's the same, if you guys treat it the same way in the court system.
We don't certify
You don't
in
certify,
court.
that's just for depositions?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's
No.
cool. Yeah, I started to try to think of what we did that's similar to that, but I'm trying to think what it's called. No. Sometimes, like, the attorneys will ask the judge to step out so they can put something on the record, like some plea bargain or something like that, so that the judge doesn't hear it. She's going to assess, the punishment, the sentencing. So I'll do something like that. Yeah.
What's that question from the RMR about the hypothetical questions?
There's something, I don't think I brought my book today.
That's the one thing I thought I wrote down, and I think I wrote it.
Yeah,
I had never even heard of it. How do you deal with hypothetical questions?
Well, you just write them?
Yeah.
It said, like, what are you supposed to do?
I don't know.
It said mark it for feedback.
Yeah.
I've never used that mark thing. I have never, ever, ever, ever used it. I'm sure somebody has. I'm more than positive. I have not. Being on real time, which I really loved, especially in these trials and stuff, man, I could just read back, find it. It was there, and just read it back. It's just fantastic. So you don't really have to mark anything anymore. What for? All you have to do is look up one word, and it'll take you to that one. You can globe it or whatever it is that you use, what method, they use. But that's what I do. And it's fantastic, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to read back a lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping I don't on the civil. But I did on the criminal. I'll tell you what, man, oof, I've read back a lot.
Was it because attorneys would lose their train of thought, or?
There's one attorney in particular that He just tried to make the case very difficult, so for the jury, so that the jury would get distracted and he,
Confused.
yeah, basically, and it worked. And so he'd ask like paragraph questions, and then say, "Ugh, "I confused myself, Deborah. Can you read it back?" And at first I was cool, and then I said, "Okay, Mr. So-and-so, what is it that you want me to read back exactly?" Because it kind of teed me off after a while, because it's a lot, and when they're paragraph questions, I mean, it's long, you know, and I was really, I remember for this trial, I wrote fantastic, and he's a very intelligent attorney, and he's actually representing somebody in a capital murder right now, and so he knows what he's doing. But I kind of lost it, and then I was upset with myself because I read it back. Then you wind up just reading it fast. I didn't even read. I didn't reread my stuff. You know, you read your stuff. Say, sure, I'll read it for you. Let me find it. So you kind of look at it. Okay, and then I didn't do that with him anymore. I just read. I just kept reading, and tried reading fast. So he'd stop asking, but he never really stopped asking. But anyway.
How do you mark, you just put a parenthetical, last question was read, last answer, or are you required to write exactly what you said out
Supposed to
again?
write
How
the
would you do
question.
that for a long paragraph answer? You just copy paste?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
force
Copy,
yourself
paste.
to write it again?
No, copy paste. Yeah. And so there, I would hit a little asterisk so that I go back at the end of the day or break or whatever and insert that question. And this guy got a not guilty, by the way, and should have been guilty. It was 10 counts. But
So you would,
Anyway.
just to clarify.
Uh-huh. No, that's
You
fine.
put the parenthetical and then you would put by court reporter and then the whole question again, or?
No,
how
you can just kind of put in a parenthetical, court reporter read back, or whatever you want to put in there. I don't know what other people put, but, you know, the following, read back the following, and then just, you know, that's it. Paste it, and that's it, and then you go on with your other deal. Yeah, the simpler you make it, the better. I think, you know, when we first get out, like, we try to make it really complicated, try to be so professional, and, yeah, whatever. I just do parenthetical recess, parenthetical lunch, you know, what, it doesn't, unless you want pages, you want extra, you know, lines, but it really doesn't amount to that many, so.
No, I've always told them, you always keep it one line.
Yeah,
I don't care what it is,
absolutely.
always keep it one line.
Yeah, you do. Just make it easy, because somebody else is going to read it, and it's just too complicated, so.
Anything else?
You said that you hit your 240s in a year.
Mhm.
So when it came to taking the test, was it strictly just a matter of jitters? Or
Yes.
was it hearing new material that you
No.
had in school?
No.
Just jitters?
I was just not a good test taker. I stressed myself out. I'd go in there and my fingers were shaking already. Yeah, and